Sometimes there are hard cases for good reasons. I remember that we once had, this really happened, two litigants who walked into the Beit Din and they were fighting because each one felt that they should be liable to the other party. And they wanted the Beit Din to decide who should really be the liable party. The defendant party, it's hard to even describe who would be the plaintiff and who would be the defendant over here. The defendant party was looking to secure a contract with the government over a particular software service that they provided, and the plaintiff party had charged a certain fee to be a broker to help them obtain the contract. And the plaintiff party had to hire, they decided that they had to hire a part-time employee to help obtain this particular contract. And in fact, the contract was obtained, and the defendant was prepared to pay whatever fee had been charged by the plaintiff. However, the defendant said, we should also, in addition to the fee that we are paying, we also should be required to pay the additional fee for the extra employee that you had to hire just for us. And the plaintiff said, but we didn't hire that extra employee based on your instructions. That's just something that we decided to do independently, and therefore you should not be responsible for it. So they decided they would bring this action in front of the Beit Din, and we just couldn't really believe that we were watching this. And we took it seriously, meaning I think we were tempted to just say, okay, let's split the baby in half, because that would have been just sort of the easiest solution. But the Talmud warns very stringently against what it refers to as dayonei chatzatzta, the judges who just think that what it means to serve on a rabbinical court is to follow the model of King Solomon and just consistently split the baby in half. They forget that King Solomon didn't actually split the baby in half. For the record, he only threatened to do so. He actually gave the entire baby to one of the litigants in his case. And the Talmud says that one is not supposed to be one of these dayonei chatzatzta, the splitting judges who just think everything should be decided 50-50. So we really had to kind of pinch ourselves out of our stupor and figure out what would be a sensible formula based on what the brokerage fee had been between the parties beforehand. And applying that formula, I think we figured out some sort of a 60-40 allocation in this case. It reminded me that there's a passage in the Jerusalem Talmud that talks about how Alexander the Great went to a particular country, I think in Africa, the country of kites, I think it's called, and he asked to sit in on their judicial proceedings, and the king of that province said, sure, I'll show you a case that we have in front of us. And there was a case where there was a seller who had sold a parcel of land, and in the parcel of land there was a treasure chest that the seller didn't know about. And the purchaser said, I think I should return the treasure chest to the seller because the seller didn't know about it. And the seller said, I sold you the land and everything that was in the land, so you get to keep the treasure chest. And because they couldn't decide, so they came in front of the king of that country for a decision. And the king turned to the seller and said, do you have a son? And he said, yeah. He turned to the purchaser and said, do you have a daughter? And he said, yes. He says, I have the perfect solution. Have your son marry the other one's daughter, and then the two of them together will split the treasure chest. So the king Alexander the Great started laughing uproariously when he looked at this, and the other king turned to him and said, did we do something wrong? Why are you laughing so hysterically? And Alexander the Great said, you don't understand, in my country, if this would have happened, we would have killed both of them and kept the treasure chest for ourselves. So this is something which is certainly contemplated by the Talmud, but it actually happened. So that was hard in kind of a good way.